Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of Bodcast Unfiltered, a podcast channel dedicated to promoting insightful conversations, interviews, debates, and dialogue on the issues of democracy and governance, how it affects uh, the different parts of the world, including Africa. And today we'll be taking a trip to Nigeria, Africa's largest democracy. We will be spending some time on these episodes to discuss the state of multi-party politics in Nigeria. Indeed, several of the opposition parties in Nigeria are currently enmeshed in a series of crises. And just recently, we saw the structures of the People's Democratic Party in Delta State all but collapsed into the All Progressives ruling Congress. There are also rumors that several other leading lights of the PDP will be decamping to the ruling party. So, as jostling and positioning begins towards the 2027 election, the question is, are we truly going to see a competitive election in Nigeria? What are the implications of the current trends of events in the country? Is there any truth to the allegations that the president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is behind some of the crises we see within the ranks of the opposition parties? And indeed, whether Nigeria is already in the throes of the control of one man and one political party. What does this mean for the country as well as its leadership role on the continent of Africa? This is a conversation that we hope you will join us as we move on. Please like, share, and make comments as the discussions goes on further. We'll be back right after this break. Thank you again for staying with us. It's now my pleasure to introduce to you our guest on today's episode. Today, it's a rare honor and privilege to have a dear friend and professional colleague, Mr. Jide Ojo, a public affairs analyst from Nigeria. Jide Ojo comes with a rich background in public policies as well as support to democratic governance systems. He previously worked to senior level positions with the International Foundation for Electoral Systems, IFES, supporting electoral processes both in Nigeria at national and subnational levels. Jide has also served on several international election delegations to Ghana, Sierra Leone, Liberia, Uganda, the Gambia, and a few other places. In addition, Jide is a leading columnist with some of the national newspapers in Nigeria. In particular, he keeps a regular column in the Punch newspapers. He's also appeared on several TV and radio channels in Nigeria, commenting on national as well as global affairs. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me to welcome Jide. Jide, you're welcome.
Thank you, Bob During. It's a pleasure to be on your show.
So, Jide, like I laid out the issue at the beginning of the show. Reading the news from Nigeria in terms of the going ons on the political front. This week, we saw a mass defection of the governor of Delta State, the running mate to the PDP presidential candidate in the last general election, in the person of Dr. Okowa, and the top echelons of the PDP defect into the ranks of the All Progressive Congress. And then listening to pundits and so on in the media, there seems to be an aura of fear that Nigeria is sliding into a one-party rule. So this is the issue we want you to help us throw some light on in the course of this conversation. But before we go deep into that, perhaps you just want to help us, have an overview of the current state of democracy and governance in Nigeria and ultimately how that plays into the current trajectory of events in the country. Over to you.
Okay, Bob. Nigeria, as you know, has a very checkered political history, as it were. We got our independence from the British on October 1st, 1960. And we have had 4 republics. The first republic ending in January 15, 1966. Second republic lasted barely 4 years. That was 1979 to 1983, before another military takeover. Then we had our aborted Third Republic, which ran between 19, maybe we could say, stricto sensu, 1990 to 1993, because that was when we had the transition. But the military was in charge from 1983 to 1993. And then we started this Fourth Republic on May 29, 1999. And so far we have had 7 electoral cycles. And out of these 7 electoral cycles, the main opposition party, the People's Democratic Party, won 4 out of the 7 electoral cycles. And that was in 1999, 2003, 2007, and 2011. And by 2015, the power shifted to a coalition group known as All Progressive Congress, who won the presidential election in 2015 and 2019 and 2023. Now we have had, like I said, check out political history. Our party system has grown. If we benchmark it against 1999, we had 3 political parties at that time. Then the number grew to 30, then to 91,
90, yeah.
to 74, to 74, down to what we now currently have, which is 19 political parties. But our political system, in actual sense, started way back in 1923. That was when the NNDP, New National Democratic Party of Abat Macaulay, was established. So we have had over 100 years of electoral democracy and party system. But how has this played out? Nigeria still grapples with underdevelopment. We still have all the development indices pointing south, high rate of corruption, misgovernance, poverty, unemployment, shrinking civic space, and all whatnot. So invariably, we can say without any fear of equivocation that democracy is in recess in Nigeria. However, it's not peculiar to Nigeria. It is a global phenomenon. Because as you look around the world, you find that similar happenings are taking place. In the West African sub-region, we have had 3 military coups in Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger. We also had in Gabon. We've had a coup attempt in Sierra Leone after the last general election. And many African countries are, you can say that they are not even observing democracy at all. So the history, what I've painted of Nigeria is not peculiar to the country. It's not peculiar to us. It's a global, because when you also look at the shrinking civic space, for instance, you could say even in the Western world, there is a lot of tension about what people have seen as the shrinking civic space. Look at what's happening in the US, where you are, despite the good election of 2024, you could see the concerns that have been shown about shrinking civic space, threat to free speech, and all of that. And then when you go to other European countries, you also see similar fashion. And I should say, one thing I found as a common trend is
Yes.
that because of the rising cost of living across many geographies, across many countries, there are a lot of disenchantment by citizens against their political leadership. Look at the last election in Ghana was won by opposition
That's
because
true.
of
Mahama.
the look at the election in Liberia where George Weah was booted out after a first time. He never got to win re-election. Look at the election in UK that booted out Richie Sunak and brought in Kestama. Look at the election in US where the Democratic Party was booted out, and instead you have the Republican staging a comeback. Look at even Germany. So you will see that transition. People generally, there is a groundswell of dissatisfaction of citizens against their political leadership. But that is not sufficient justification to the fact that Nigeria should not be a better example. Because when you say, but the point I can emphasize is that democracy has not delivered the good governance that is expected of our political leadership. And that's why
Indeed.
democracy is in recession. And this manifests low voter turnout. Look at the successive elections we have had, where the turnout of voters continue to recede, like Lake Chad. They did not, even when politicians are offering money. I look at the election in the Ondo State governorship election.
So Jide, I'm sorry to butt in there, but I know you've really covered a lot, and we're still heading somewhere. We'll get back to some of these points, that you raise, and I just want to read out some of the key points that you raised, because you did touch on the history, the political party history of Nigeria, and it would appear that the current news that one is hearing is totally at variance with the political culture that Nigeria is known for, independence, and the different republics that we've had, with some of the military interventions in between. So now you talked about corruption, and I just want to see maybe the current debate about the country sliding into a one-party rule. Do you think corruption, has a role to play in that argument? I'm not saying that, the country is necessarily sliding into a one-party rule, or it is not sliding into a one-party rule, but I just think the way it's been elevated, it must be an issue that requires attention, and whether the issue of corruption has any role to play in this context. Over to you.
So let me not just answer like a scientist, which will say yes or no. We know that in humanities and social sciences, we must give context to whatever answer we are going to give. And so I need to lay a bit of background. When you said a country is sliding into one-party system, what does it actually mean? And that's the issue I engaged in my column in The Punch, where I try to make our readers understand that when you say a country is sliding into one-party state, it does not necessarily mean that there is only one party in that country. It's like a metaphor of sorts, and that there is a de jure and a de facto one-party state. For instance, a de jure one-party state is what we see in China, where it's only one party that existed, and it's more like an autocracy. But a de facto one-party state, which Nigeria has become, not sliding to, has become, by my own assertion anyway, is a country who is multi-party, but where you have one dominant political party. So that's a de facto, because legally speaking, we have 19 political parties. If you go on the website of Independent National Electoral Commission, you'll see that there are 19 registered political parties as a date. And incidentally, for the first time during the last general election in 2023, we have highest number of political parties represented in our National Assembly. 7 political parties are represented in the Senate. 8 political parties are represented in the House of Reps. Lesser number, about 4 or 5, are represented among the state governors. So you have APC, PDP, NNPP, APGA, and Labour Party. So definitely, if you want to drill down, you will say there is no way Nigeria can really be, in true sense of it, be called a one-party state. Because whether at the national or sub-national, you have multi-party winning elections. But when we use that phrase that a country is a de facto one-party state, the point being made is that there is one dominant political party. It's like in US, you have perhaps dozens or even not hundreds of political parties, but the dominant one are the Democrats and the Republican Party.
And the Republicans.
The same thing in UK, you have the dominant being the Conservative and the Labour Party. In Ghana, you have the NPP and the NDC. So Nigeria, at different times, apart from the one you mentioned, which was during the aborted Third Republic, where the military decided to build party secretariats and register 2 political parties, we have had at different times a dominant one party, a dominant 2 parties. So if you look at it from 1999 to date, in the 16 years of PDP, bordering, you can say Nigeria was a de facto one-party state. As at then, it was PDP and others.
That's true. Yep, I remember.
You say PDP and others because all the other parties like Alliance for Democracy, all Nigerian
ANPP,
Party, all these all Progressive Grand Alliance, all these National Conscience Party, they are just like fringe parties. They are fringe parties.
So Jide, let me take you up on this point actually, because I like the way you made the distinction, and I read that your article because you ended it off by saying, and I quote, that legally speaking, Nigeria is a de jure multi-party democracy, but a de facto one-party state, given the mass defection of governors and so on, which I've talked about, that Nigeria is now basically a de facto one-party state. But for me, in reflecting on what you're saying, I'm also asking, can we indeed say it is just about being a de facto one-party state, or we are seeing the consolidation of the power elites, in one particular group, which we know, as being a major issue for Nigeria, the issue of elite capture, our elites have a way of gravitating, towards the government in power. So in local parlance, we say anywhere belle face, basically people just looking for access to the, to public resources. So is it about parties, and to what extent do these parties, really represent an ideology or represent the people, or we're just seeing, the chess game of political elites moving from one political vehicle to another vehicle because they think that is where their bread is best buttered? So
it's a multi-choice answer I will give you. It's a potpourri of all of the things you have said. I always give this illustration that politics is just about interest. As we know, there is no permanent friendship or enmity. It's just about interest. It's a game of interest. And in politics, I give a tale of 2 cities, 2 countries. You are either in Siberia or you are in Saudi Arabia. Siberia is a more like a desert where nothing really is moving, very cold environment and inclement weather. So not many people want to go there. But Saudi Arabia is a country of milk and honey. It's like a Canaan land. It's a country with lots of resources, petrodollars from oil and gas, multi-billion-dollar tourism, and people are migrating there. So nobody wants to be in political Siberia. No real politician worth its salt want to be in opposition, because I'm classifying opposition as Siberian enclave.
Yeah.
Now, the Saudi Arabia is the ruling party, and we have seen all of the things that is playing out now. We have seen that time and again. It's not new. In the 16 years of People's Democratic Party, you'll find out that under the guise that they are establishing government of national unity, after every election, you see a lot of people moving into PDP, leaving the opposition parties as empty shell. And that is what is playing out now. As I said in my article yesterday, I was referring to multiple reasons why people would defect. I said, you talked about anywhere the left is. It's not just that. There is what is called Ajib. Any government in power.
In power.
you want to belong to any government that is in power. You had what Governor Sheriff Oborowori said last Monday on the 28th, which happens to be my birthday, 28th of April.
Oh, happy birthday.
Where he said he decided to defect. Not even just defect. That's the first time we see a whole party structure dissolving into the ruling party at the center. Because what happened in Delta State is not just defection of the governor and deputy governor. All his political aides, all the local government chairpersons, all the political People's Democratic executive in Delta State moved into APC. And he said he wanted to belong to the party at the center, that they cannot afford opposition politics. And by the way, that's the first time you are having Delta State moving from PDP to APC. And there is ongoing rumor that the Akwa Ibom governor too may join the League of Defectors. But let me come back to...
Indeed, I think I saw a comment from him this week that the PDP is a faulty pipeline, or is it a faulty aircraft? Yeah, I think he said it's a faulty aircraft. You know,
so
and he's been encouraged to jump.
What I'm trying to let you know is that it's not just about corruption. You asked a question about corruption earlier. It's not just about corruption. It's about the powerful political elite trying to maintain relevance, political relevance. Some of them are very stinkingly rich. They are not hungry. They are not looking for food, but they want protection for their investment. And they feel that where they can get that protection is if they belong to the party at the center. Other favors, appointments, those who are looking for a re-election ticket. They know by this time next year, it will be time for party primaries. And they know that the current party that brought them to the office may not be willing to give them tickets because of what is known as rotational political offices within their zone, within their state, within their local government. You know, there are states and there are local government where you alternate. It could be 3 senatorial districts. So if you are a senator, you do for 1 term, somebody from another senatorial district will go in the next election and all of that. And because they know that arrangement is already existing, some would now say it's better they defect to the another party where that principle will
So they
not
can
hold.
start on a clean slate.
So they can still get a ticket, and because they have garnered some resources, find their way back to the political office. So it's about political relevance and interest.
That's true.
But that's not to say that corruption does not have a lion's share of why this is happening. Because you know what is corruption? It's not just embezzlement. Corruption goes beyond stealing.
That's true.
You know, our former president, Goodluck Jonathan, said, if there is corruption, America will know. And people are saying that, no. Corruption is about abuse of office. Abuse of office for private gain. If you are holding an office in trust and you betray people's trust, you are corrupt. You are corrupt. So corruption is not just about embezzlement, about stealing public funds. And that is why, irrespective of how you look at it, people want protection for their investment. People want access to resources. They want contracts. They want appointments. They want tickets at the next election. And there are so many, and it's within their legitimate political right. You cannot be Puritan and say, oh, they should not have done that. In any event, I saw that PDP has gone to court to challenge the defection of governor of Delta State, but nothing will come out of it, at least for the governor, because our constitution has not criminalized defection for executive offices, for like president, governor, local government chairperson. The only people that must have justification for their defection, according to Section 68, subsection 1G of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, is, for instance, National Assembly members, if they must defect, there must be division. There must be division
in their
at
party.
the center. Factionalization. There must be division or crisis at the national headquarters of their party. And in truth, will you say there is no division in PDP? They have had to go to court about who is the authentic national secretary of PDP in the last 2 years.
And it remains unresolved, even up to the Supreme Court.
Unresolved, even after Supreme Court. Supreme Court said, go and resolve it. Now, the person who took the matter to court said the judgment favored him, that's Senator Anyanwu. The party said, no, the judgment did not favor you. We are not going to recognize you. Rather, the acting secretary the assistant secretary should become the acting secretary until when we are going to have another convention in August. So that issue remains unresolved. The issue about who is even the national chairman of PDP, the Damagum has been in acting capacity since they throw Iyochayo under the bus, and the different factions within the party have been challenging him. There is a wicked group, there is an article group, there is the governor's group. So you cannot in good conscience say that all is well within the PDP. The Labour Party history is very well known. As I speak with you, Labour Party has 3 leaders claiming the Julius Abure
national leadership.
Yes, Julius Abure insisted he's still the national chairman of Labour Party. Lamidi Apapa is claiming that Supreme Court has sacked Abure. Now he is the de facto national chairman. Then there is Esther Nanaji Usman caretaker committee, who the Peter Obi and Alex Otti are backing to say that they are the one that will midwife a new congresses and convention. The same thing can be said of NNPP, where Kwankwansiya movement, including their leader, Senator Kwankwanso, has been expelled from the party. And that's the party that has only one state, which is Kano. So when you go around, most of these parties are involved in intractable leadership. And that's why forming a coalition against APC has become very challenging. Because those who are promoting the coalition are not doing it because they love Nigeria. They are doing it for their own political relevance. For instance, Atiku Abubakar is trying to rally opposition behind him, so that in 2027, and this man would be 80-year-old by that time. And people are saying, are you the only one? You were fielded by a PDP in 2019. You were fielded in 2023. You're being fielded in 2023 caused division within the APC to the extent that 5 PDP governors insisted they were not going to work for him, and they did not work for him. And it was part of the reason he lost. Wike Ekpeazu did not work for him in Abia. The Benue State governor,
all right, Jide, thank you so much. Yeah, I know you've not landed your thought, but our time flies quickly when we're having fun, because it's been such an engaging discussion. And once again, I want to invite comments and reactions from you, our audience who are watching and listening to this video on the various social media and streaming platforms where this is coming to you from. Please, again, we'll appreciate if you like, if you drop a comment, as well as you subscribe to this channel so you can be notified when we drop new episodes. We'll be right back at this short break.